alive.
Now we're getting somewhere. How can you prove that to me other than them telling you? I assume you've got GPS tracking and the call to SETO?
We have witnesses among other things, but I can also tell you this. They were off the island at 4:30 p.m. and Nolan Wells was seen alive by multiple people at 6 p.m. still on the island. And I'm sure Tyler would be happy to elaborate on that, but this is a no doubt.
He was seen alive at 6 p.m. That was the claim, not whispered, not floated as theory, delivered as fact on a national broadcast by two defense attorneys representing the young men last seen with Nolan Wells before he vanished from Horn Island on July 4th. One sentence, one timestamp. And if it is true, the entire timeline of this case collapses. Think about what that means for a moment. Picture a clock on a wall. At 4:30 p.m., a Triton boat departs Horn Island with 3 young men aboard. At 6 p.m., Nolan Wells is allegedly still on that island, alive, seen by witnesses. That is a 90-minute gap. A gap that either exonerates everyone on that boat or exposes the softest alibi in modern death investigation. Before we go deeper into what the documents actually show, make sure you're subscribed to the VerdictOrigin, because we don't just cover the story, we follow the evidence. Now, let's examine what was actually said.
To clear up this matter, have your clients taken polygraphs? First to you, Tyler Cox.
Nancy, my clients have not taken a polygraph test, and I can tell you why. Because any lawyer worth their salt is going to tell their clients not to take a polygraph test under any circumstances. 2 of my clients went in and made statements with me. We're not going to not going to do a polygraph test because, one, as you know, they're not admissible in court. And so it wasn't going to be admissible anyway. You should never, ever, if you're a lawyer, allow your clients to take a polygraph test. Now, we allowed investigators from the jump to have access to their phones, their Live 360, everything. We have cooperated implicitly every step of the way. But no, they didn't take polygraphs tests. But what I'll tell you is one of the other boys, who I won't mention their name, but I'm sure that you've heard, took one. The girl that Nolan was with took a stress analysis voice test, and so did the other boy. So that's the test they took. Both of them passed. And so, again, no lawyer worth the salt is going to tell his clients to take a polygraph test or anything like that.
Defense attorney Tyler Cox told Nancy Grace that his clients had not taken polygraph tests, not one of them. His reasoning was simple. Any lawyer worth their salt tells clients never to submit to a polygraph. Fair enough. That is standard defense practice. But then the story shifted. Another individual took a voice stress analysis test, not a polygraph, a voice stress test, and that person passed. So did another. But the 3 young men on the boat, no tests, no polygraphs, no voice stress analysis, nothing except statements and cooperation. That is not guilt. That is not innocence. That is a vacuum. And into that vacuum stepped a second attorney, Edward Pulsick, who said something far more consequential. He claimed 2 confirmed witnesses saw Nolan Wells alive on Horn Island at approximately 6 p.m. He said those witnesses knew Nolan personally. He said they made positive identifications. He said they spoke to investigators. Then came the cross-examination that mattered. Were those witnesses together that day? Yes. Did they know each other? Yes. Had they discussed their recollections before speaking to police? Well, I'm sure they did. 2 witnesses. Same location, same timeline, same conversation before giving statements. That is not corroboration. That is an echo.
So, Nancy, look, we have had multiple witnesses reach out to us, 2 confirmed witnesses that saw Nolan Wells on the island around 6 p.m. on July 4th, well after the Triton, as you said, left around 4:30. And so those witnesses have went to investigators, they've talked to the police, and they've done what they're supposed to do. We've cooperated 100%. So has
Where did they
those
see him,
witnesses.
Tyler Cox? Where did the witnesses see them? Do they know him well enough to make a positive ID?
The prosecution instinct in Nancy Grace surfaced immediately. She asked the only question that matters. Can you prove it? Where is the timestamp? Where is the GPS?
Here's my question to you. Are these witnesses friends of your clients?
I don't think they're friends, and they're not even the same age.
Okay. Next question. How many witnesses place him there on the island at 6-ish?
At least 2 that I know.
2. Do the witnesses know each other?
Yes.
Were they together that day?
Yes.
Have they had a chance to discuss their recollections with each other before they came to police?
Well, I'm sure they did. Nancy, look, they did what they were supposed to do, and they spoke to police officers. And you know as well as I do that if investigators or a DA's office had any...
Where is the physical evidence that places Nolan Wells alive on that island 90 minutes after the boat left? And the answer from the defense was not a timestamp. It was a deflection. They said the burden is not on them. They said investigators have had over 30 days and found nothing.
Convincing. Let's see the photo they're talking about again.
Yes, I'm glad we agree about that.
Do I know what time that was or what day that was? Is there a timestamp? Look,
Yeah,
I'm not
4:30.
saying either of you are lying. I'm saying this is how I would test evidence in court. I mean, I take everything with a box of salt. When was that taken? Where was it taken? What time was it taken?
Yeah.
I'm curious. Is it timestamped?
Nancy,
Well,
you've been trying this case for over 30 days. The facts are the facts are the facts. These boys had nothing to do with the death of Nolan Wells.
Okay,
Listen,
when was the timestamp on that video?
Nancy, I'm going to answer it this way.
Yes.
We don't think that you're accusing us of lying. We don't feel that way. We're just simply saying this. And it's okay. You're asking legitimate investigative questions. And we don't fault you for that. But here's what we're saying. It's been over 30 days. There has never been one shred, one iota, one piece, nothing. There is no evidence that ties Warren, Morgan, or Jax to any crime because they did not commit a crime. They had nothing whatsoever to do. Right.
And
there's
again,
nothing.
what's timestamp on that video?
But that's not our burden. See, that's the problem. You're putting this burden on us, all right? There's never been one piece of evidence.
You did that to yourself, Paulsick, when you said, here's the boat that day and he's not on it. That may very well be true. That may be absolutely true. And I'm saying, when was the video taken?
Well, no, I'm telling you.
Around 4:30, July 4th.
Yeah, and I'm telling you another thing, Nancy. We have multiple witnesses, and we're going to protect their names on the air here. We're not going to air out a private list of witnesses. We are. We're going to protect them. So I want to emphasize that as well. The witnesses that we're talking about, we're not going to do that to them. We're not going to name them here on the air. We're not doing that.
I'm not asking you to.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you are.
I'm asking you again when the timestamp is on that video. But if you don't know, I'm not saying that that's wrong or right.
Well,
I'm saying I want to know to corroborate that video.
I understand that, but that's not a relevant question for your present guest since we didn't make the video. But I can tell you this.
Okay, well, you showed me the video, and that's why I'm asking.
They said the island is flat and open and crowded and impossible for foul play to occur in broad daylight. But here is the problem with that logic. The island is 10 miles long and only a few hundred yards wide in most places. It is flat, it is exposed, but the water around it is not, and the boats surrounding that shoreline are not. A crowd of people drinking on a holiday is not a surveillance system. It is a blind spot, which brings us to the physical evidence that should exist but does not. The boat, the Triton, has apparently never been searched with luminol.
I do not believe that it has been searched by authorities, but it's been available to authorities this entire time. If authorities wanted to come see it, they're more than able to, and have been.
Okay, I find that very interesting, Tyler, and I'll tell you why. In so many cases that I've prosecuted and covered and investigated, you see defendants, targets, trying to get rid of evidence. You see them cleaning the boat. You see them washing it down. You see them trying all sorts of methods to get rid of evidence. It's interesting to me and somewhat probative that your clients have offered the boat up to law enforcement to come and search it. I'm curious, has the boat not just been searched with the naked eye? Has luminol been used on the boat? Has alternative light sources been used on the boat? Has a cadaver dog come to the boat? Has a scent dog come to the boat? To your knowledge, either one of you.
To my knowledge, Nancy, I do not believe that has happened. But again, my 3 clients, either one of them, none of them own that boat. So if it has, you would have to ask the owners.
Tyler, do I look like I just fell off the turnip truck? Maybe I do, because we did sell turnips at the farmer's market when I was growing up. That said, you telling me my clients don't own the boat, so you'd have to ask the owner. Come on. You and Paulsick know if the boat has been searched. You know if cadaver dogs or scent dogs, luminol or alternative light has been used on the boat. Can you just tell me? Yes.
No cadaver dogs, no scent dogs, no alternative light source. That is not a defense failure. That is an investigative void, and yet the young men's own phones were dumped. Their live 360 data was accessed. That asymmetry is striking. Their movements are mapped. The victim's final hours are not. So what are we left with? A neck removed at autopsy, lungs removed.
Inflammatory things, but the one thing that, well, many things are very interesting and probative. For instance, why was Nolan's neck of so much interest to the original medical examiner that it was removed? His foot wasn't removed. His toe wasn't removed. His ear wasn't removed. Why his neck? The lungs and the neck were removed, which obviously Edward Paulsick touches on COD, cause of death. I understand why the medical examiner took his lungs. He had to run tests on them to determine, did he drown? Of course, all 3 of us know you can drown and there still be foul play. Somebody whacked you on the head. If somebody held you underwater, it could be any number of things. Or it could be an innocent drowning. But why the throat? What was curious about the throat, Ed? Were there marks on the throat? Was there a ligature mark? Was there manual strangulation? Was there a compression? Were there bruises? Were there scratches? I don't know. Was a hyoid missing? I could go on, but I won't. Do either of you know what was of interest to the medical examiner in the removal of Nolan's throat?
I'll tell you this. Listen, we're not coroners. We're not medical examiners. We want to know what happened to him just as much as everyone else. Quite frankly, more. Because Nolan was their best friend. Warren, Morgan, Jax. Nolan was their best friend. We want to know what happened. But we haven't examined Nolan's body. We're not scientists.
I just thought maybe you had been somehow told why they took his throat. Okay, that's a note. We don't know why they took his throat.
A blunt force mark on the back of the head is described as subcutaneous and deep. No defensive wounds on the hands or arms. None of that proves murder. None of that rules out drowning. But it does demand a question that no one on that panel could answer. Where is the phone?
I've seen it.
Right, and Nancy, let me give you a really important point here. And by the way, I appreciate some of the things you're saying. And let me just say this. This might be the most important thing. Look, we have a lot of humility. Warren, Morgan, and Jax have a lot of humility. One of the things that we knew when we were going to come on with you is we know you're going to ask us tough questions. We know you're going to ask us tough questions. And we're happy to answer them as best we can. But one thing we've been very consistent about, there are so many things we don't know. right? We won't be able to answer all of your tough questions. And the reason we can't is because we just don't know the answer to a lot of them. But we do know what we know. We know they were off that island at 4:30. We know Nolan was on the island at 6. We just want to emphasize our humility in that regard because we just don't know and we would love to know. We want to know how this tragedy happened as much as anyone, more than anyone.
I want both of you gentlemen to understand something. If I thought I had convicted the wrong person, I couldn't live with myself.
Son.
I personally investigated every case I ever tried and put before a jury. I do not want the wrong person, an innocent person, to suffer claims and allegations, much less go to jail. But I do want the right person, if there is a right person.
Right. If there is.
Which leads me to, I want to believe you and I want to believe your clients. But for me, everything is what can I prove? What can I prove? They say so what? Prove it to me. Let me ask you this. Do you know where Nolan's phone is?
Nolan Wells' phone has not been turned over to investigators, not by the family, not by the estate, not by anyone. The family's attorney, Ben Crump, reportedly confirmed that on another program. And so the one device that could definitively place Nolan Wells at a location at 6 p.m. or on a boat at 4:30 p.m. remains outside the evidentiary record.
Good question.
Right now, as we sit here today.
Has it ever been turned over to authorities?
No, it has not.
You're sure?
Yeah, I believe that Ben Crump, using local counsel, sent a letter out just last night, gave it to Don Lemon on his show, and Don Lemon on his show confirmed that they have not given the phone to investigators.
Well, that's on investigators because they need to get the phone and they need to look at it.
How are they going to get it if they don't give it to them?
Warrant? Subpoena ducus
Based
tecum?
on
Grand
what?
jury subpoena ducus tecum?
Sure, but it hasn't been to the
No
grand
one's
jury
phone?
yet. Hasn't been to the grand jury
There
yet.
is. Are you telling me you don't think a grand jury is convening on this?
I think they are. I don't think they have looked at
Well,
the
you
case
said, how do
yet.
you get the phone? You obviously get the phone. Police go say, hey, can we look at the phone? And they go, sure, here it is. That's one way.
Well,
Or you're
what if they don't give it to
investigating
them?
potential crime. You get a warrant and you go, hey, give me the phone. Here's the warrant. That's two ways. Or you get a grand jury or a judge's order. There's all sorts of ways to get that phone.
Well, Nancy,
You could
Nancy,
just ask
why,
and they hand it over.
Yeah, Nancy,
Why didn't they give it to
why
him?
has the, yeah, Nancy, why, why is that phone hasn't been turned over? Why?
I
Why
guess
would
it
the
hasn't
DA's
been
office
asked
need to
for,
get a
but
warrant?
I think it should be, and I think it should be asked for. Look, I am not stirring the Nolan Wells phone pot with you. I got bigger fish to fry with you two gentlemen. I'm just curious. I mean, wouldn't that put a lot to bed if we could look at the phone and look at the GPS tracker on it, look at the route? I mean, look,
Yeah,
I know
we
where my
want more
twins are
evidence.
right now because they got Live 360. Yay.
Nancy,
Why can't we
want
look
more,
at that? I mean,
Nancy, we want more evidence. Let's get it all. That's the thing. That's the beauty of it. When you're telling the truth and you're representing three innocent young men, the beauty of it is you want more evidence.
We gave our phones up. We let them do a
Yeah.
phone dump of our phones.
which I find very, very interesting. Because a phone dump, everybody shows where the phone's been, what time it was there. It's not hard to do. It pings off phone cell towers, and you can
Yep.
tell as it progresses along. Not hard, easy. And I find that probative because it will tell me when the boys went to Horn Island, the young men, and when they returned.
That is not a technicality. That is the entire case. Now ask yourself this. If the phone pings on Horn Island at 6 p.m., the young men are cleared by physics. If the phone pings on the water at 5 p.m., the entire alibi disintegrates. So why is that phone not in the hands of law enforcement? Why has no warrant been executed? Why has no grand jury subpoena forced its production. That is the ticking clock, because every day that phone sits unreviewed is another day the truth stays buried. And buried is the right word, not delayed, buried. The moral refrain of this story is 3 words long. Prove the timeline, prove the timeline, prove the timeline.
Know of witnesses, or you know of witnesses that placed
Yes.
Nolan at Horn Island alive at 6 p.m.
Yes. Yes.
Now,
100%.
all of this aside, has the boat been searched? Where is Nolan's phone? Where are your client's phone? All that is superseded by the fact that there may be witnesses placing him alive on the island at 6 p.m. And everything else disappears for me if that is true, because I know your clients were gone at 4:30-ish.
Yes.
Have these witnesses been questioned by law enforcement? Do you know?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
You're sure?
Yes. Yes. And I'll tell you another thing. One other thing. There's a corollary. Nancy, there's a corollary. So there are witnesses who can place Nolan Wells on the island at 6 p.m. There are also witnesses who can confirm that Warren, Morgan, and Jax left the island around 4:30. So both sides are covered. We've got it covered.
Well, for me, it's not that simple, because I still don't know what happened to Nolan Wells. However,
Neither do we.
I believe that the GPS, which really cannot be controverted, shows when the Triton left. Witness or no witness. I've got that. Now, who's on the boat? I believe that video is going to tell me who's on the boat. But all that, the overarching issue was he alive at 6 p.m.? This is where I'm going.
Right, and Nancy,
I don't
can I say
care
one
who
thing?
was with him last. I don't care if it exonerates or convicts
course.
anybody. I just want to know the truth.
And it's good to ask,
Sir?
and I want to say this, it's good to ask tough questions. These are all valid questions, but what we're trying to do for you is simplify it.
At 4:30 p.m., the boat leaves. At 6 p.m., the victim is alive. That is the entire defense. But witnesses who know each other and speak before giving statements are not proof. A voice stress test taken by someone who was not on the boat is not proof. A blurry photograph with no timestamp is not proof.
Joining us tonight, Tyler Cox, the lawyer for several of the young men. Also with us, Edward Pulsick, attorney for the boys as well. Tell me what you can about the SETO call. I've had renowned experts say, this wasn't doctored. I've had renowned experts say, this was totally doctored. Have you heard the original SETO call from Mississippi Department Marine Resources? Have either of you listened to that call? Because I've heard it so many times, I'm now jaded based on what people think they're hearing, based on enhancements. I even had my own producer, who does not have a dog in this fight, no skin in the game, enhance it. But I want to hear what you guys know about the SETO call. My mind is open.
Look, anybody can adjust the gain. Anybody can enhance it or sweeten it. But it doesn't change the fact that just because you put words over some audio means that those words are now attributable to what is on the call. Look, another boy called SETO. We have video that was released of Brandon Tatum. He posted it, and it shows who all was on the boat. At no point in time does this SETO call ever, not once, where you find any sort of mention of Nolan being on the boat, of something happening to Nolan. I cannot state clearly enough, Nolan was not on the boat when it departed around 4:30. Look, the video that you're showing now, does anyone look like And look, there's the boy that's on the SETO call right there. Does anyone look like there's a body on the boat or something had just happened? Look, Nancy, you were a prosecutor
No.
for a long time. None of these boys have a story that is untrue. Don't you think that after all this time, somebody would have snitched? That somebody wouldn't be able to keep their story straight? No. Look, these boys are
Typically,
telling the
yes.
truth.
Typically, you're absolutely right. That's why I usually don't believe in conspiracies, because nobody can keep their yap shut. Somebody blabs.
And Nancy, now I'll say something about the SETO call. I have heard a lot of versions of the SETO call, and most of them are either completely fake or AI or doctored. And unfortunately,
The phone is proof. The GPS is proof. The forensic examination of that boat is proof. And none of that has happened. So here is what you do right now. Go pull the public statements filed in the Ocean Springs investigation. Look at the timeline the defense has offered. Then look at what has not been produced. Then ask yourself one question in the comments below. If two witnesses really saw Nolan Wells alive at 6 p.m.,
I want to believe you. I want to believe you, Ed. But just because somebody says so, don't make it so. And I'm trying to prove it. That your clients were gone and that Nolan, more importantly, in my mind, was still alive. If that's true, your clients are in the clear. As
Yeah,
far
and-
as I'm
and Nancy-
They are in
concerned.
the clear.
And
I-
the SETO
yep.
call and everything else falls away if I can place him alive at 6 p.m. And the people that want to hang your clients, I can't help their unrequited anger.
yes.
I don't care. Because
Yes.
somebody, in my mind, was the last person to see Nolan Wells alive, whether it's your clients or somebody else, and I want to find that person that saw
Yes.
him. You say 6 o'clock? Who are they? Make yourselves known. Put us all out of our misery. Help me find out what happened to Nolan.
Yes.
Again,
Nancy,
I
can I
want
ask
you
you
to
this?
understand. I'm just
Why
trying
would-
to find out. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Why in the world would these witnesses make themselves public after you've seen more than 30 days of death threats, in-person threats, credible threats, people making threats and getting arrested, all geared towards these boys and others? Why would they become public? Why would
Well,
they
here's
come
one
out
answer.
publicly?
One answer is they're telling the truth and they want to put it out there. Another
They told the
possibility
truth to
is
investigators.
everybody already knew who they were, so they went out on Tatum to exonerate themselves. I mean, that could go either way. But I see what you're saying. I get it.
And Nancy,
still don't
get
know
this
Nancy,
straight.
yeah.
Have you ever
Yes.
seen any other people accused of the crimes that online internet trolls have accused these boys of go and do podcasts, do interviews, have their attorneys go and advocate for them like this on a national platform like this? If we weren't 100% sure and they weren't 100% sure that nothing they did was in connection to Nolan Wells' death. They left the island at 4:30. He was spotted on the island after that at 6, alive and well. That's it. End of story. Do you think these are actions of three boys who, one, keep their story straight, two, don't snitch on each other, and three, have made and had to have made to defend themselves multiple media appearances and have their attorneys do the same? Are those the actions of someone who is guilty? No.
why is the one device that could verify that's still sitting outside the evidence room? Because until that phone is dumped, until that boat is swabbed, until those witnesses are separated and questioned under oath, this is not a solved case.
I truly believe that submitting to polygraphs or having the boat searched by law enforcement with scent dogs and cadaver dogs and luminol would go a long way to stopping the speculation. But again, all that aside, if I could speak to or hear from those witnesses placing Nolan alive at 6 after your clients had left the island, I feel that the investigation would take a different turn. In any event, we do not want to pile on any individuals suffering if they are in fact innocent. That's not what I want. I want the truth, as I believe you do too.
It is not even an unsolved case. It is a case still waiting for someone to prove the timeline. If you believe in evidence over narrative, like this video, share it with someone who only follows the headlines. Subscribe to the VerdictOrigin and turn on notifications, because when the timeline finally breaks, we will be the ones still reading the documents.